Hey guys, welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Andrew Shaw. So Andrew, welcome back, man. How's it going?
Hi, Kendrick. Great. Things are great.
For sure. So Andrew, you are an ESTJ, but what kind of ESTJ are you?
Well, I'm one of these jumper types. So that's my full op type is FM, TENE, play, consume, sleep, with blast, last.
Last. All right.
Yes, another one of those.
So what is it like being an ESTJ with blast last? Because ESTJs usually have blast first, right? So that's kind of weird that it's last.
It is very weird.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm one of these people. I suppose you know how Evelyn has said that Myers-Briggs just couldn't type her. And I guess I'm one of those.
Yeah.
It's a similar sort of situation. Um, uh, I'm not, well, I don't like the phrase ESTJ really. And it has other connotations, you know, it's one of the least popular types, I think.
Because they're boring,
Um,
supposedly.
well, or kind of like aggressive and bossy. I suppose that's the
Oh,
reputation
the,
that
the
they've got.
police, the police, the police type.
Yes,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Although I think that's a bit well, I think a lot of stuff that's said about ESTJs is unfair. I mean, even someone who is, uh, you know, uh, a standard CESI, like I saw that you'd interviewed Charlie recently. Now he doesn't fit that stereotype of the aggressive sort of pushy ESTJ, does he?
No, definitely not. No, but there's as we have learned now, there's 32 kinds of each type, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like there's the extreme introverted type of each type and the extreme extroverted, and then everyone else in between. You actually come across as quite introverted though. Like I know you have an extroverted type, but no, you are introverted, right?
Well, it depends how you view play, consume, sleep. They often say, they being Dave and Chan, that it's that's actually arguably an introverted type,
Right.
and I would agree with that. And they always say that they're very quiet and they mumble, you know. "Blah, blah,
Yeah, yeah,
blah."
yeah. I've actually seen that because I just interviewed an ENFP with Blast Last, and he was kind of going in circles a little bit. But it was fine because I understood that if you have Blast Last, you would probably have to do that.
Yeah, um, it's uh, it's a challenge, I suppose. I mean, you've got things like um, not starting things or leaving things to the last minute, you know, procrastination, um, being too late for things sometimes so that you miss the boat. But I suppose on the other hand, the advantage is strong consume, and you can't have both.
So what is it like having strong consume then? Because a lot of ESTJs don't typically have consume higher up in their animal stack, but you do. So do you read a lot of books, listen to a lot of audio books, or watch a lot of videos online, or how do you do your consume?
Well, all of those things. I suppose YouTube dominates now because that's where, well, there's a lot of visual information on there. Um, it used to be books, you know, before the internet really took off.
Right.
Um, and I listen to podcasts as well, you know, the whole thing.
Gotcha. Um, you know, since we started the interview, I just couldn't help but like when I talk to you, I'm reminded by a popular YouTuber actually who's
Oh, yeah.
he's British also. Do you know Gordon Lang? I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, I haven't. No.
So you guys look identical.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I guess I'm looking at his picture right now. I'm looking at you. There's, he's into camera. He definitely has an ESTJ vibe to him, but he's very visual because he's good with camera and photography. And then now I'm looking at you, and he's obviously older than you, but like he And I'm just like, oh my God, this is a visual ESTJ. Like, and you are a visual ESTJ, and like, no wonder there's a similarity in how you look. You might have look it up,
Right.
look him up,
Yeah,
because
well, send me the link.
I will. But so
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the same type as you, but you do have Blast Last. But if he is the same type as you, and he's a YouTuber that has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, that tells you your potential, right? Like that tells you how far
exactly.
you can go, even with
Yeah,
Blast Last.
Well, I've registered a few names on YouTube for potential channels,
Oh,
but
nice.
I've not taken the plunge and actually produced any content yet. One of them was, this is a bit cheesy, but I thought it would be quite fun. My ESTJ life. I mean, that would be a way of like making a sort of vlog, and I would be just sort of putting, showing my perspective of things, and showing that ESTJs aren't always, these horrible people.
Yeah.
And the other one was more related to OP, which was ESTJ Play. I was thinking, because I am a Play ESTJ, that would be quite an appropriate one, and then I'd make videos more about like getting an echo here, more about typology and stuff like that.
Now, I want to ask you a question about your FI. So you have double activated FI. You have sleep and consume, which is a really, in my opinion, advantages as an ESTJ. Do you feel like you have quite a good access to your FI as a result of it being double activated, or does it not affect it at all? Like, what was your experience with that?
Well, I suppose all of these things are like double-edged swords.
Right.
It kind of makes me a bit like an ENFP, and after all, you're NETE, so you and I have a lot in common. We share a lot of functions. But it's a strange one. I still have the typical difficulties that people with Demon FI have. How I would describe it as is, it's like I don't know, or I'm not fully like in touch with what I value a lot of the time, and that can lead me to sort of go around in circles, because I try to logic my way through life, with the NT, but what's the actual value behind it? What's the sort of deeper thing that I'm trying to attain? And that sort of can change from one thing to the next before I've really got anywhere pursuing the thing I was already on. So I tend to sort of go around in circles a bit. So there's that, but there's also things like I don't know how I'm going to feel about something until it's actually happening, so that could be any sort of feelings. They tend to just sort of creep up on me, and just suddenly in the moment I'm experiencing something, whether that's grief or, like an attack of nerves or something like that.
Yeah, you also have feminine FI, which I think makes things a little bit more challenging as well, because
Yes.
I think even people with savior FI that's feminine, there's definitely that challenge, like even there's a part of them that they even get identity crisis. Do you feel like you get any identity crisis, or how do you what kind of FI issues would you experience as a result of having feminine FI and fourth function?
Well, just knowing my type has really helped me a great deal with this. And, getting coaching from Dave and Shan has really helped. It's especially useful, the fact that Shan has such a similar type to myself.
Right, exactly.
She's got, yeah. So she's gone through these FI things and, you know, come out the other side.
Right.
The mountain, as they say.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of taking her advice and leading, you know, following from her example.
Oh my God, you're both
identity.
same in a say. Like you both
Yes.
have a masculine TE and feminine FI. Oh my God. What kind of advice did she give you that you found helpful?
Trying to think. Well, I was saying things like, I was asking her, so what is it that I'm afraid of? You know, for example, something like this. I think she even said, did you see that Q&A question about when they looked at my 23andMe results? Have you seen that?
I think so. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, she said there's. I've actually got them down here, but there's something on here that says about public speaking, I think, and she said, and it says less likely to be afraid of public speaking or something like that, and Shan rightly said, I don't think Andrew would say that he likes public speaking, and that's true. So I've asked her, what is it that you think I'm actually afraid of, you know, doing this or doing like the you know, the class Zooms that we've done, where I tend to be quite nervous and inhibited.
Right.
And she said, just that you're kind of afraid of being laughed at, I suppose, or afraid of looking silly, which I can understand. And it's like that idea that because EJs, they want validation from the tribe in order to feel like they're worth enough. That fear that I'm going to slip up and do something silly, and then the tribe are going to think that I'm not worth all that much. You see, that kind of thing. So just knowing that, being told that, and also being told, you know, how they say these fears aren't real, or you shouldn't respect them, you shouldn't treat them as if they're real, and then they lose some of their power over you.
Right.
So that's some of the advice they've given me.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. Have you done anything to practice that FI bit? You know, like do stuff for yourself. You know, like, you know, they made a video about Ed Milet about, you know, making promises to yourself and keeping those promises. Have you been practicing that at all lately?
It's been in the back of my mind, let's say. It's something which I've been doing other things, but it's definitely something that I've been aware of. I've watched that class a couple of times, and I've watched Ed Milet's other videos of his on his own channel,
right,
to try and soak up some of that that idea. But it's like sometimes some of these things are just like, if you're aware that the possibility itself exists, then that's a start. And I think that I hadn't heard anyone say, you know, make promises to yourself and then keep them, and that's how you'll build yourself up. That was like a completely new concept to me. So just seeing that much has helped.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Seeing an ESTJ find a solution to this problem, I think it's huge. You know, I think that's a golden moment. Like, you got the key information that can help you, you know, move forward, you know, with whatever struggles that you have as an EJ, especially with feminine FI, because Ed Milet also has feminine FI, right? So he figured it out, and you know, and I think you have a blueprint now, which I think is amazing. You know, 'cause otherwise before, a lot of ECJs would probably be like, what, but like, not you. You know, you're like, oh, there we go, there it is. That's the answer I was looking for. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, but at least the answer's there.
Yeah, I mean, there are little things in life where I think I'm moving in the right direction. There are certain things where I've thought, no, I'm going to do this for me, or when someone's made a request, or can you help us out with this? And I've thought, you know, maybe it's stopping me from doing whatever I had planned to do. And in those situations, I might think, no, I'll arrange to help them out at a different time, but I'll continue to do what I had planned. I won't drop my own plans to dash off and help someone else.
You have masculine NE. What is that like? Like, how do you experience that?
That's a very good question, and I'm not even sure of the answer.
That's fine. Do your best.
The reason is, I happen to think that the masculine and feminine thing really affects the sensory, and it's visible in the sensory more than intuition. So you're not going to see, I don't think masculine NE or feminine NE is really going to be all that obvious. You know, the feminine SI, definitely, you can see that. And, you know, what people say about memory, and especially, you know, how Dave and Shan describe it about time. I just don't have like a memory for time. I know certain events, and I can memorize the year that they happened in, and then sort of create a framework out of that. But things like, for example, the first time we spoke, I can't remember when that was. It's just gone. It's like and I don't know, are you the reverse of that? Have you got like a sort of, because it seems like the way they describe masculine SI, it's like you've got a sort of inbuilt timetable or timeline in your head that's very accurate. And
yeah, timeline. You're right.
Yeah. So
yeah, sorry, keep going.
I was just going to go back onto try and answer about NE though, which was, I guess sometimes I'm a bit too shovey with it, especially when it comes to like making jokes. I've noticed actually, especially, I mean, I actually went in to a YouTube video and deleted one of the comments that I'd made because I thought it was a little bit unfair, maybe. I mean, not mean as such, but sometimes, you know, I'm thinking that I'm making a joke, but it could be a little bit, you know, unnecessary, let's say.
Right, because you have double masculine play.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes.
What's that like?
I could be a bit more gentle with that.
What's double masculine play like? Like, what are you doing that is, you know, quite aggressive in the way you play?
Well, it's a strange thing. I think I've sort of mellowed a lot as I've got older. Thinking about this though, because you know it's all about expending energy.
Yeah.
Is play. When I was in my 20s, I was just like a little bit crazy, you know, because I got into exercise, and I would go to the gym like 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
I'd have Friday and Saturday off. Yeah. And on Sunday, I'd play a round of golf in the afternoon, and then go swimming on Sunday evening. So for some reason, I just got sort of hooked on expending energy physically. Now I'm a lot more relaxed. I think there's a lot more sleep energy in my life. There's a lot more balance in that respect. But maybe that was an example of me sort of expending energy too much rather than sleeping. I mean, you're in the fitness industry. Do you see that within yourself? Do you work out very strenuously and often, or?
No, not anymore. I used to work out 6 times a week, but when I got injured, I cut it down to twice a week.
Yeah, well, you see.
Yeah, because I have sleep last, right? So, you know, the injuries actually catch up to you. And so right now they've caught up. I'm seeing a lot of physio, massage, RMT. I actually have to get an MRI scan for my lower back. But they think it's fixable, whatever I have. So I have to, it's forcing me to use sleep. to recover my body, my physical body. So in that sense, yes, I abuse play. Yeah. So what I noticed with feminine NE and masculine feminine NE and masculine NE is that, like for me, I have feminine NE, right? Is that I have a tendency to forget concepts. Like I'll read a book and I'll be like, oh my God, this is the best idea ever. This is the best concept. I'll completely forget about it. Like for example, I read this one book called The One Thing. And as you can already hear, that book's probably pretty obvious. Like you just have to do one thing, right? The one thing of the one thing, the 80% of the one thing. And then I completely, after I read it, I was like, oh my God, this is gold. It's going to change my life. And then I forgot about it until like I saw the book again. I'm like, oh, right. But because my SI is masculine, when I saw the physical book, I'm like, oh, right. That's the concept here. But then guess what? Concept flies out of my head. So do you always have concepts in your head that's always floating there constantly as a result of having masculine NE?
I guess so. I mean, it's never enough though. I'm always wanting to take in more. And always, because it's like, I guess masculine NI would be more like that, I think. I think with the NE, if I'm looking for a solution to whatever problem I'm facing, or if there's a challenge or whatever, and I'm trying to break through it and get to the next stage, I want to take in a new concept. It's not like the concepts I've already read will be sufficient. It's like, no, there'll be a new book that I haven't already read, or a YouTube channel that I've not seen, and
Right.
I need to take those in.
So you're obsessed with the new.
And in fact, yes, yeah, and maybe that's actually part of it. Like, if you've got masculine NE, would that be more sort of shovey as far as, okay, I need to take in new stuff now? Perhaps, I'm not sure.
Maybe you're more likely to go to people and be like, this is what I saw. I saw this. Like, this is what I saw. And then people might argue with you, try to get the sensory. Yeah, but then you can't back it up with a sensory, right? You're like, I don't know why, but I know it. I saw it. You know, like it's.
Yeah, it's actually a funny story there, because like my brother's family were getting a dog and they'd never had a pet before.
Yeah.
And so I sort of took it upon myself to start watching like dog training videos, and I was looking at Cesar Millan, and then next time I was at their house, I was saying, oh, you've got to watch these videos, they'll be really useful. And I think some members of the family were a little bit insulted by that, because they said they thought I was implying that they weren't smart enough to to be able to train a dog by themselves, without forcing them to watch these videos and take this new information.
Maybe your relatives have consumed less or something.
Maybe. Yeah. There would be clash there,
right? So.
Sorry?
No, I was just saying you're forcing them to use their demons, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but this was before OP went live, so
yeah.
I know now not to do it, and why not to do it.
Yeah. Let's talk about you being a double observer, a single decider. So let's start with something easy. As a double observer, are you pretty good with control and chaos then in general? Like, are you pretty balanced with, like, let's say finances, you know, your career, like when it comes to the things related stuff?
Well, actually, this brings us back to an early question, which was, you know, when you said, how does the double activated FI come into play? And I think what that means is I'm sort of more likely than the typical single decider to have some observer issues. So I am quite disorganized and chaotic, and I've learned over the years to take better care of that side of things, you know, with finance. And I'm good staying in the black and, you know, not spending more than I earn. But, and also I've got used to, you know, having to pay my bills on time. When I was younger, I was sort of, you know, flying by the seat of my pants. So I'd get a bill sometimes and just put it on my desk and then
Yeah.
think, oh, I'll pay that later.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would get covered in other papers and then I'd forget it was there. There was one time where I actually had a credit card statement. And I then got a note and it said on it paid October. And I thought, well, that's okay, so that's fine. Yeah. So then I get a notice through saying that I hadn't made my monthly payment. And I thought, hold on, I've got this this statement saying pay. I'd written on it paid. So I phoned them up, and they said, and I asked them what was going on because I said, look, I've paid this bill, and then they said, well, no, you haven't. So I said, well, I'll just got my debit card out and I just made a payment over the phone, and that cleared it up. But then I realised later, when I was looking at the statement, it was I'd written down paid a year before. So it
Oh,
wasn't last month. It was like a 13-month-old bill.
oh my God.
I know. And it had been on my desk for a year and I hadn't filed it. I'd not shredded it or done anything with it. So that's the chaos side of life.
Yeah, but you don't seem to be freaking out about it though. You seem to be quite calm,
Well,
like watching you talk about it.
This is the thing. And I think this is how you can tell the difference between observers and deciders. I can see the funny side and I can laugh about it. This was several years ago, so
Yeah.
time has passed and I've forgiven myself for making these silly mistakes, and I've not made another mistake like that since.
Yeah.
Which is a good job because, you know, these things can hurt your credit rating.
Right. Yeah, but I can see how like you're laughing at it, right? You're like, haha, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not like the end of the world or anything.
People issues.
Yeah.
Especially if it's in the moment. I find those difficult to laugh about, I admit. And I think that's a good way of telling observers and deciders apart.
Yes.
I mean, is it in your life, do you see that where if something like that would happen, it would be difficult to laugh at, would you? How do you feel about it?
Well, I freak out about the SI stuff all the time. Like, let's say I'm about to teach a fitness class, like a spin class, and my microphone's not working, I would freak out like crazy, you know. But like when it comes to people, like I remember I teach some senior classes, and I had some seniors haze me at the end of the class, and it felt bad, but at the same time I laughed at it too. I'm like, oh my God, I got hazed today. Like I was like laughing at it, right? Like telling my girlfriend I got hazed at like.
What did they actually do? Can you say?
Yeah, this one lady went up to me and she said, so it wasn't my class. I was one of my coworker was on vacation, so she needed someone to cover for 4 weeks of this senior fitness. So this one lady went up to me. It's like, and she said, "Is it always going to be like this? Because if it is, there's no point of me coming back." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty harsh," you know, like, you know. And I was like, okay, like I mean, obviously I felt bad, but like I laughed at it too, like later on, right? Like I got over it really quickly. It wasn't a big life problem, right? You know, for me, the big life problem was like, oh my God, I still have like, you know, some debt in my line of credit I got to pay off, you know. I got to work at this one job, you know, 9 to 5. Oh my God. Like like working 40 hours a week. Oh my God. I hate that. Like, it's like, it's things, right? Like the life problem is things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But for you, it's like identity and people, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So, besides identity problems, do you have problems with other people usually, or because you're a tribe person, usually you're pretty good? Or do you find that other people kind of maybe treat you as a doormat? Like, what happens here?
It's the thing that bothers me, I suppose. It's the people who kind of go against the tribe. It's like people who kind of want to be, I think, individualistic to an unreasonable degree. I don't know how you would class unreasonable,
IP,
but
the IPs then.
IPs. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't. I'm going to upset all the IPs who are watching. It's the sort of, I guess, the immature IPs, the ones that are kind of, well, you know, it's a funny thing because one thing that I have a problem with, or I used to, and I've managed to get over it recently.
Yeah.
Is driving and the way other people drive, because I guess this is where the ESTJ in me really comes out, and like you said earlier about the police officer and the sort of, you know, the law enforcement comes out.
That's
because
right.
I think it's all very well people driving the way they want to and people disregarding the rules, but the thing is, it's dangerous and people die, people get killed. You're in this metal box on wheels that, you know, weighs more than a ton.
Right.
And when these metal boxes hit each other, you know, people get hurt. And that's why the rules are there. And I find it when people drive dangerously, I don't just think, oh, there's a car being driven dangerously. I always think there's a person in there and that person's responsible. And that's kind of, I've just reminded myself, that's what it's really like for me. I'm afraid to say I'm sort of playing the blame game, because if something happens, there's always someone somewhere, I think, who, or they haven't done their job right, or they're cutting corners, or they're being greedy and keeping all the money for themselves. So that's kind of, if I'm angry about a situation, it's always, right, who is the individual who's to blame, and who's the one who sort of thinks they can disregard what's good for the majority of people, when everyone, you know, we've got to have rules in life, and we've got to have a sense of community between people. I mean, humans are tribal animals. I'm going into a rant here.
That's fine. That's fine. That's
this
good.
is an EJ rant.
Yeah,
But,
it's all good, man.
yeah, that's kind of how I see things. But now that I know it's not real and you can actually stay calm, I've had experiences on the road where, you know, if a driver cuts me up or something, I try to see it from their point of view and try to think, okay, they're in a hurry, maybe they're just they're an EP, they can't obey the rules.
That's me.
Yeah. And you've just got to sort of not let it upset you, because they'll drive off. You probably never encounter them again, and you're just upsetting yourself if you're getting angry, and it's not constructive. It doesn't help anyone.
So I just realized something while you went on your EJ rant. Seems like the kind of people that piss you off are immature IPs with savior SE. You know, like because SE people they don't follow the lines, right? Like the physical rules. The rules is bendable when it comes to the physical things. So when you're driving, you can zigzag through traffic and like cut off people, and who cares, right? It's whatever. So it seems like the SE savior is what would piss you off. Number two, when you were describing about who's to blame, or someone's not doing their job, or someone's gonna get hurt, you know, in the outside, what I freak out about when I drive, it's not even that. Like I think about insurance. Like I'm like, oh my god, I have to deal with the insurance company. You know, like what's the paperwork gonna be like? What's the timeline for this BS? You know, like that freaks me out, right? I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to deal with insurance. You know?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When it's great that we people in the class and even outside the class are able to, you know, talk to each other and get these perspectives, because I would never have thought that. It's funny, we get sort of tunnel vision sometimes about how we think. I mean, I just had this thought the other day that only NTs are going through life as if it was a series of puzzles and trying to puzzle puzzle things out and puzzle their way through life. Someone who's Savior SF doesn't think like that. And that was like a sort of a revelation. I just thought, oh, hold on. So that means SFs just, I can't relate to that, because when you realize, when you look at yourself like that and you think, well, I view life as a series of puzzles to be solved, and then you go on to the next one, and then that's to be solved. And that you realize, hold on, other people, the other other three quadrants aren't like that. It does make you think, how much is it possible to actually understand other people?
Yeah.
It takes some effort, and it takes some sort of, you've got to really try to get into the mind of someone else.
And I think the cool thing is that there's so many different combinations, right? Like you are an EJ, but you're an NT-EJ, right? But the EJ, the other EJ could be an SF-EJ, right? And it's going to be completely different from you.
Yes.
Different values. And even though you're both EJs, you're still not going to get along, even though you're both EJs, just because it's so different. Like, you're like, well, there's no logic in what you're doing. And they're probably thinking, you're not cool, you're boring. It's like, there's like that disconnect, right? Because like, you have an EJ who's an NF, EJ that's a, ST, right? So it's really mind-boggling. Like the good thing about op though is like, once you know how it works, then you can use it actually for your job, right? Like, okay, I can clearly see this person's an SF. So let's go make, like, so for me, I teach fitness, right? So I'm like, okay, how can I make this SF cool? So I play some games that's really fun, high energy, people like love it, no logic behind it. It's just, I mean, maybe there's some logic behind it, but I don't talk about the logic because they don't care. They want the SF, right? So,
Right.
so it's like learning to leverage this stuff, for your career. Let's talk about I think we've covered a lot of stuff already. Let me see what we haven't covered here. Blast. Oh, we covered double observer already. Do you have anything that you want to talk about personally that about your type that we have not covered yet? Because we talked about your feminine SI already. We talked about your feminine FI, masculine NE. What about masculine TE? Like, how do you use that? Do you force people to adhere to like how the tribe works, or like what works for the tribe? Do you enforce anything?
Well, the funny thing is, I don't. I just sort of really wish people would just obey the rules by themselves, so I didn't have to enforce things. I think the typical TE, SI, or the ISTJs who are SITE,
right,
and masculine, they would be like typical sort of cop archetypes.
right.
But I guess there's a punchiness and a logic that, and it's like, a denial sometimes, I think, because people they sort of deny their saviors and deny their demons and try to get by as if they weren't important. And it's like, okay, logic and reasons are far more important than values and feelings, and we should just, how I feel really should be it should be put to the back of the queue, to the back of the line, and reasons come before anything else. And I think masculine TE sort of is just more intense about that, and more sort of shovey about, no, reasons must come first. Does that sound?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, for you,
yeah.
I'm balanced with FI and TE though. So for me, it's like, okay, like I get what you're saying, and then I also get the importance of the FI. So for me, it's like, I wouldn't put it I wouldn't put TE in the front of the queue and the FI in the back of the queue. I'll put them like, oh yeah, they're both probably equal importance. Now I did find a very good question for you, is that because you're TENE, you're essentially an EJEP. So
yes.
And you already talk about you being chaotic with like your bills and whatnot, but do you also seek freedom then as a result? Like there's a part of you that seeks freedom more than control. Like
yes.
Let's talk about
that. And it's just like, routine is difficult.
Yeah.
And another thing about chaos for me, it's funny because I think like punctuality, being on time is difficult.
Right.
But I always feel bad about it because I feel like I'm letting the tribe down. So there are
Yeah.
some people that I know, people I've been friends with who were IPs, and they were. There was one guy in particular who I was really good friends with, but he sort of absolutely demanded the right to turn up when he turned up, and don't give him a hard time about being late.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you get with the typical perceivers. So if they've got introverted decider and extroverted observer, you get that. But with me, because I'm a tribe person, I feel guilty, and I want to be on time, and I want to, if it affects the tribe, I want to sort of be in control of the chaos so that I'm not making things worse for other people. I'm not bringing my chaos to
Yeah.
the party, if you like. But yeah, it takes a bit of work.
Yeah, you're definitely a walking contradiction, being like an EJ, but like chaotic and does have trouble with punctuality and chaos. It's just so weird, but like that's what I like about, like, you have a really interesting combination. It's definitely very interesting.
That gets 2 thumbs up. Interesting.
Yeah, you did your EJ thumbs up there, right there.
I've got validation. I feel so validated. I'll be happy for days now.
Yeah, I can't. That's so interesting. I find that so
I've got a
fascinating.
badge on. Interesting.
Yeah.
Says Kendrick.
Yeah. I just forgot my question now because I had a question that it flew out of my head after you threw that joke in. But oh my god, so
sorry. Yeah, there you go. My chaos has thrown the tribe off.
Yeah. There you go. I'm a chaos monkey, so it's fine. I'm cool with it. Okay, so I remember the question now. So earlier in the interview, there was one area that you did not want to touch on, and it's offending IPs, right? So I wanna ask you about that. Do you find that you usually typically make friends with a lot of IPs, or even like when it comes to dating, do you find yourself very, very attracted to IPs, or like there's something about the IPs that like really catch your eye, like as a friend or someone as a potential partner,
Well, they can do. I mean, I guess an EP would be, I mean, from a dating perspective, they wouldn't be very suitable, I think. Recently I've been thinking, because like an IP or an IJ would probably be a better match.
Hold on. This is not a logical question. This is not.
I'm sorry.
This is not a logical question. I don't want you to logic.
They're all logical questions.
I don't want you to logic block this.
Come on.
Do you find yourself more attracted to IPs?
Do I value IPs?
Do you find yourself attracted to them as a friend or as a partner?
Well, yeah, I guess so.
Like, do you find yourself having a lot of IP friends usually, or like?
Well, at the moment, I don't have a lot of friends as it is. I mean, I get on really well with the people that I work with, but it's like the gang of friends that I used to hang out with in my 20s.
Yes.
People went their separate ways, like they tend to do.
Right.
So there was that friend that I mentioned who was sort of insistent that he should be allowed to turn up when he turns up, and don't give him a hard time for it. I have a feeling he might have been FISE, but it's difficult to say. Can you see how I'm struggling to answer this? It's like you're trying to pin me down on values.
Yeah, man. Of course.
And it's difficult to get to get an answer out of myself.
Yeah. Even then, that's the kind of driver that piss you off too, right? The drivers, like, you know, like, I don't know if you saw the connection there, because earlier you were saying, oh, I don't like those people who just like cut people off, not thinking about other people. And you're like, people who just drive crazy in the street, they're usually SE, because they don't follow the lines on the road. For them, it's free flowing. It's not important, right? And then, you know, people who are more selfish, you know, they don't think tribish. That's IP, right? So I'm like, And then you describe your friend now, and you probably think he's an FISE. So clearly, those are the people you're attracted to. So I find that, you know, quite fascinating. It's like it's almost like a double-edged sword, right? Like the person you're most attracted to is also the one that pisses you off the most. like
Yeah. Well, you know, I had this idea the other day that like men and women aren't designed to get along too well all the time, because then you've got to have arguments. Then it makes more babies, because then there's makeup sex afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
So evolution has ended up causing this friction between men and women, you know.
I forget which book I read. Maybe it was The Way of the Superior Man, or there was another book, but they said that men are more static creatures. Like we tend to stay the same. Like we could grow personally as a person, but in general we're the same people. But what we want is to be comfortable and happy. While women, from what I've read, is that they crave a range of emotion. So when they're happy, that means they also want to feel sad. They want to feel jealousy. They want to feel, you know, ecstatic. They want to have like they want to have a sample of each of the emotion. So if you're giving them too much of one emotion and not enough of this, you can bet that's gonna swing pretty soon. So it's like it's kind of messed up to think about it, but like a lot of guys who are really good with women, that like my friends who are really good with women, my friends who are guys who are really good with them, they tend to be like drama queen kind of guys. Like, and it like clicked to me, the reason why they were so good with women is that they're giving the women exactly what they're looking for, which is the range of emotion, right? Sometimes they'll be happy, sometimes they'll be pissed, sometimes they'll be jealous, sometimes they'll be like very, you know, ecstatic or joyful. You know, like it's like they have like a whole range of emotion, and those drama queen guys, they're giving it all to them, right? And they're hitting all the points, and I'm like, okay. And it kind of like goes against what like society teaches you, right? Like, you know, you should be kind to women, be nice to them, and yes, you should, but like biology, like speaking from a biology point of view, you know, or like biological wiring, what is being kind to them? You know, like is it like, if you're not giving them the range of emotion that they want, does that mean you're the real asshole here is you? You know, it's not.
Yes.
That guy who's my friend, who's a drama queen. The truth is, he's the actual kind person, and it's like it's so ironic. It's like a paradox, you know. But he's giving them exactly what they want, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like it's almost hard to wrap your head around it, right? Like it's, you know, and that's just what I noticed.
Paradoxes.
Yeah, and that's just what I noticed, and I'm like, oh my god, no wonder those guys who are like, you know, bad boy types or whatever, like they seem to attract a lot of females, and it's because, oh yeah, they're giving them a range of emotion, right? That's essentially, like, if you were to narrow it down to one concept, it's that, right? So I'm like, like
even serial killers, you know, have you heard of that phenomenon where serial killers have groupies who are sending them fan mail to death row? Have you heard about that?
I've heard a lot of things in regards to that, like, and I'm like, okay,
it's crazy.
like I had a female friend, and we went to watch a movie, right? Like the X-Men First Class. I don't know if you saw that movie a long time ago, the X-Men movie.
I didn't see it, but I know about it. I know what it's
Yeah.
about.
So after I got out of the movie, I went with a bunch of friends, and a bunch of them were females, and they kept saying, "Oh my God, he's so hot," and I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" They're like, "Magneto." I'm like, "Oh, the bad guy."
Yeah.
You know, he's like the bad guy, right? He's like, "Yeah."
He's got the power.
Yeah, and then like even my sister would always say like, "Yeah, I always love the bad guys. The bad guys are like the best. You know, they're most attractive, right?" Like in the Netflix show, you know, like Narcos, like Pablo Escobar was like, you know, he's a bad guy, but the women love him, right? He's like, So, like what
He's the boss, and I think
alpha male, yeah, of course, but
it's we're heading into dangerous territory here. It's this interview is taking place in 2019, and we're supposed to be woke and saying things like, "Oh, women like men who are dominant and powerful, and in charge, and they're in charge of other men, leaders."
yeah.
Saying that probably isn't very politically correct. It might be biologically correct, but it's not politically correct.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But if people want to haze me, I'll take it. I don't care. Like, like this needs to be this. But anyways, the point is, what was my point? Well, if you look at the op type too, though, the sexual modalities is also one of the biggest factor for attraction, right? So if you're FM, the chances are you're attracted to MFs, right? Or if you're double feminine, then your chances are you're going to be attracted to someone that's double masculine and vice versa. So it doesn't, like with Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, for example, right? Like who's the double feminine in the relationship? It's Bill, right? And the double masculine is Melinda. And if you look at them together, clearly Melinda has a more dominant personality, right? So
Yeah.
it's that polarity is definitely a major factor. But
Yes.
But like I said, like the other stuff that we talked about, I think that's also valid. Like the range of motion versus like comfort and just being static. Anyways, Andrew, we're gonna wrap up the interview soon. Do you have any questions to me about, like, we have the exact same function, so I don't know if there's anything that you want to ask me about, like function wise, or something that ENFP has that ESTJs have in a different function order.
Well, the difference in the functions then is the modalities with you. So you've got feminine TE,
Yeah,
and feminine TE and masculine FI. Is that right?
I have masculine FI, masculine SI, feminine TE,
Yeah.
NE.
Yeah. So just based on what you've heard me say, was there anything when we were talking about that stood out where you thought, okay, there's a difference there? Or
well, we're opposite in the sense that you have double masculine outer world and double feminine inner world.
Yeah.
And I have double masculine inner world and double masculine feminine outer world.
So you're sort of soft and movable. Here's the thing, actually, because they say that just going back to FI, that the difference between feminine FI, or one of the differences between feminine FI and masculine FI, is feminine FI gets hurt and feels wounded, whereas masculine FI gets pissed off and sort of wants to. Instead, feminine FI might be like, why have you done this to me? Whereas if you get someone with masculine FI gets hurt or offended in some way,
right,
then they want to sort of punch back and they get angry. Is that something that you've experienced? Is that how you see it?
When I sent in my typing video to Dave and Chan, I actually said one of my problem areas when it comes to emotion was anger. Like I'm a very angry person inside. Like earlier before our interview started, and I was trying to rush back home so we can start the interview, right? And the traffic was so bad and people were driving like idiots, and I was just getting annoyed, right? Like I was just cursing. I was like, fucking move. What the hell? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you so slow? Like, and like nothing, like I get so mad when I drive because I especially get mad at apprehensive drivers, right? I get mad at apprehensive drivers more than like the crazy drivers. I don't like the crazy drivers either. I think people should be following the rules. But then there's also the opposite side, which is the extremely apprehensive drivers. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, can you hurry up? Like, speed limit here is 60 kilometers per hour. You're driving 50. What are you doing? Like, and like you miss a gap there. There's when you're turning left, there's a 4-second rule, right? I'm like, dude, there's 5 seconds. You could have clearly turned. Like, why did you wuss out? Like I get so angry. Like my FI is like very like aggressive, right? But then when I'm teaching a fitness class, I'm like a very like soft, right? I'm like, all right, everyone, let's make sure that everyone is safe, and like it's so. But then when it's like a huge contradiction, but like.
Yeah. And I guess you need to do a side-by-side comparison between people, because what I think is angry is probably less angry than what you consider to be angry. I tend to sort of keep it in, and I don't tend to shout, or, if I'm in traffic, I'll just sort of, I probably look perfectly calm with my hands on the wheel, but inside I'm sort of.
I'm the person that rolled my window down, drove
Yeah.
beside your car, and gave you the finger.
Yeah.
I've done it so many
I don't
times.
think I've done that to anyone yet, but the day may come. Hopefully not. But,
I do it once a week at least. Once a week.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's a big difference.
Yeah, and like when I was a teenager and when I was in elementary school, I used to fight people in the playground all the time. Like someone would piss me off, I just go up to them and start fighting them. I can humbly say to you, I lost more than I won. I have gotten my ass kicked more than I have won a fight. But just to illustrate the nature of that aggressive internal world, right? Like the moment someone pissed me off, like empathy shuts off and I just go a charge and attack, right? So sometimes that person is clearly bigger than me, clearly someone that can kick my ass, and the end result is not pretty. I get my ass kicked. And so, so that's the biggest difference, I guess. Like offending people is not like a big thing. Like I'm scared of it, but at the same time, the moment you piss me off, the moment the FI gets activated, oh my God, the empathy goes away, and I'm gonna offend you, So it's really like it's quite bad. But I'm still a double decider though, because usually a lot of people that I fight with, they become my friends later on. It's so messed up. Like
That's a good way of dealing with the situation.
yeah, no, like
Fight first, become friends later.
well, earlier you were talking about angry makeup sex, right? It's like it's kind of like that. Like you get really pissed at this person, you fight it out, and then once you finish fighting out, you're like, oh, this person's not so bad. It's so weird. And then now they're like my friends, and I really like them actually. And it's like I'm like I have a pattern of making friends with people I hated, and now they're not my good friends. Like it's like
that's a bit foreign to me.
It's a reoccurring theme.
Like, typically, once you've put someone in the I hate them bracket, for a single decider, it's very difficult to change your mind about that person.
Yeah. I guess it's a double decider thing, but I just noticed there's a pattern of me making enemies, and then those enemies became like not just friends, but like a lot of times best friends. Like I'm like, okay, that's weird, but it works. So I don't know what to say to you. Yeah. All right, Andrew. Thanks for doing the interview. You're so much more loose today. I'm so happy to see you. You're definitely more lighter, more relaxed than when we first did the interview. So I'm happy to see that you've chilled out since the last interview. I don't know what work you've been doing to yourself, but hey, keep it up, man. Whatever it is. All right, man. Peace out.
See ya.